70% of employees are disengaged at work, and they're disengaged because they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, they don't feel valued. If you're familiar with the term quiet quitting, I mean, folks will go to a job and they're going to be given a hat to wear. And after they wear this hat for a few months, their team members might see that they're capable and competent and maybe even confident in what they're doing. So they're going to say, you know what, let's give them another hat. Let's give them another hat. And years go by and you find yourself wearing 6 or 7 hats, none of which is the one that you actually get hired for.
Welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast, the official podcast for tire business. I am Mike Edge, your host, and I have the privilege of interviewing the tire dealers, shop owners, counter sales reps, technicians, industry executives, and other thought leaders of our industry. This episode is brought to you by Tread Partners. Tread Partners is the leading digital marketing agency that specializes in digital marketing for multi-location tire and auto repair shops. Tread Partners works with clients that have hundreds of locations down to 5 locations. Get a professional, unbiased opinion and let Tread Partners review what you're doing. It starts with a simple conversation. To contact Tread Partners, visit treadpartners.com. So let's get started. Hey folks, welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast, the official podcast of tire business. Josh Parnell is our guest today. He was previously the director of service development at Christian Brothers Automotive. He is the current owner of Limitless Leadership, LLC. Josh, welcome to the Gain Traction Podcast.
Mike, thank you so much for having me, man. It's an honor to be on. Appreciate you, sir.
Well, it's an honor to have you. You're also a veteran, right?
Yes, sir, of the Air Force. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, my audience knows I like to dig in a little bit about who you are, where you came from. I just gave some of the way that you were in the Air Force, but where'd you grow up and how'd you end up in the tire and automotive world, and then where you are today with Limitless Leadership?
Yeah. So, Mike, if you would, I'm going to share a bit of a lengthier story about how I got into where I'm at today. Born in New Orleans, raised in Texas. I consider myself a Texan. I've been in the Houston area most of my life.
Okay.
And my story really dates back to after high school. I had hopes and dreams and aspirations to go into Hollywood to become the next Steven Spielberg. Now, clearly that didn't happen, but I found out that radio, TV, and film was a career I could do, or was a major that I could do in at the University of North Texas in Denton near Dallas.
Nice.
So I went to UNT and planned on being there for 4 years, but after just a year and a half, they said, "Hey, Josh, you're playing too much. You gotta get out." So I was not ready for school. Had a lot of growing up to do, and this is around the time that 9/11 happened. So it got me thinking about joining the military, and I found out that videography was a career field I could do in the Air Force. So I went to my nearest Air Force recruiter's office. And he said, I introduced myself. He said, "Hey, great. Videography is an awesome career choice. Just so you know, it's not available now, but when you get into basic training, it will be. All you got to do is sign the dotted line." So I said, "Okay, let's do it. Sign me up." And of course, videography was not available when I got into basic training. So my recruiter lied to me. But a funny story happened when I got into basic training. Everyone fires the M16 in basic training. And I think now they fire the M4, but at the time it was the M16. In order to become an expert marksman on the M16, you have to hit the target at least 45 times out of 50 rounds. Well, I had never shot a weapon before, so I was not a good shot. In fact, I was such a bad shot that the range instructor got frustrated with me during my M16 firing, and he threw an extra 30-round magazine in my rifle. So I did score a 45, but it was out of 80 rounds. And the only people who knew that I shot 80 rounds were me and the range instructor. So on my score sheet, it still shows a 45 out of 50, which technically makes me the worst expert marksman in the history of the Air Force. But that's an important part of my journey because when they found out I was a quote unquote expert marksman based on my score sheet, they said, "Well, you're going to be a cop. You're security forces." And so I was military police for 4 years, stationed in beautiful Minot, North Dakota, another place I was not really wanting to go. But
I got a friend up there. I got a friend up there that I know that spot. That's what's so funny. Yes.
Yeah.
There's a friend of mine that Jarrett Lundeen. He was one of my first guests on the podcast.
Okay.
He owns Trusted Tire up there. So that's so funny
Gotcha.
that you said that. Yeah. Because I went to see him one time, and it was so funny because he said, "You won't come." Like he when I told him, I said, "I'm going to come see you sometime." He goes, "No, you won't. Nobody comes." He comes up here. And I had a blast. We had a good time. It's a beautiful country. But anyway, you lived up there for how many years?
Yeah, I was up there for three and a half years. So I did basic training in tech school in San Antonio, and then was stationed in Minot the rest of my 4-year enlistment. I did have a 5.5 month deployment to Ecuador, which was amazing. But Minot is a lot different now than it was 20 years ago. I'm dating myself, but I was stationed in Minot from 2002 to 2006, and it's grown a lot since then. I mean, back then there was an Applebee's, a Walmart, and maybe a gym. I mean, some bars, but other than that, I mean, it was just a bunch of flat land and not a lot out there. But I'm from Texas, going into the cold weather. It's going from one extreme to the next.
Yeah.
But I joined I joined the Air Force to go travel the world. I thought I can be a videographer in Italy, in Germany, Belgium. And instead, I'm a cop in North Dakota. So that's not the way I planned. But if you want to make God laugh, just tell him what our plans are, and he got a good chuckle out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, that's a great story. That's hilarious, though. Yeah. He goes, it's not on the list here, but he goes, when you get the basic training, there'll be videography.
Yeah, and I'm sure that's probably a tactic that they all use. But yeah, I finished my 4-year enlistment. Got out of the Air Force, went back. I came back home to the Houston area and finished my degree. Went into oil and gas for a few years. It was a job for me. It wasn't a career or a calling. One of my favorite quotes comes from Steve Harvey. He says, "Your career is what you're paid for. Your calling is what you're made for." And I wasn't. It was a good job, but it wasn't something I wanted to do forever. And oil and gas at the time was very much of a fluctuating business. So when it was good, it was good. When it was bad, it was slim pickings. And so a friend of mine who worked at the Christian Brothers Automotive home office here in the Houston area reached out and said, "Hey, there's a position opening up that I think you might be good for. Are you interested?" And my first response was, I'm not a car guy. I don't know automotive. And he said, "This is where you're training people. You're training people on leadership. You're training people on the guest experience, on workflow. It's really putting processes and procedures in place to help the profit grow."
Yeah.
And so I went and interviewed, went through a couple of interviews, and was fortunate to be offered an opportunity to serve as a service development trainer there. And shortly thereafter, maybe about 2 years after I was there, was able to get promoted to the director of service development. And for my almost 8 years of experience at Christian Brothers Automotive, that's really where I cut my teeth in the industry. Learned a lot about the industry as a whole, but also the importance of serving people. And putting people first.
I mean, you did a great job because they have an impeccable reputation.
Mike, I'm still proud to say that just recently, Christian Brothers Automotive received for the 6th year in a row the J.D. Power and Associates Award for Best Customer Service in the industry, and that's something that I'm so proud of, because it was the team effort that was able to create and facilitate training programs for service managers, service advisors, technicians, franchisees over the course of time. Consistency, like time spent plus intentionality and consistency, is value received. And something I'm so proud of the time there was the people who I had an opportunity to serve and partner with to develop the top training in the industry. And still to this day, I haven't been there for 2 years, but those guys are still killing it, and I'm so proud of them.
No, they do. They have an incredible reputation. I always read great articles on them. When you were doing that role, what did you consider like the absolute number one priority or point to instill in service techs, or not service techs, but just everybody in the industry within that, in a store that's going to encounter the customer, from the sales counter to the service tech, whoever? What was number one that you tried to instill?
The first change that me and one other team member made when I had an opportunity to lead the department, I went from trainer to director, and there was one other person on the team, and the first change that we made was changing the department from sales training to service training. Because what I believe is that when we focus on the relationship before the transaction, like we're focusing on serving our guests, taking care of our guests, loving our guest, the transaction is a natural byproduct of exceptional standard setting service.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to suggest that we don't, like, we're still paying attention to the sales processes and working on the sales process and being mindful of the KPIs and KPIs that drive sales. However, if our focus, even from a guest experience, like if I'm in a shop and a guest walks in, I'm mindful of the relationship that I'm creating and cultivating with this person before a transaction is even thought about.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we can treat every experience from the place of a relationship first, the transaction could be a natural byproduct of the experience as a whole.
I think that's perfectly said. And I think, I feel like we miss that in all our life experiences, right? I mean, because we're kind of, as Americans, we're kind of transactional in a lot of ways, like with a lot of things, right? I mean,
We are.
we get drilled with advertising all day long. So it's always a yes, no, how we respond to everything. And I feel like, it goes with your kids, everything. You got to develop the relationship, and you got to make people trust you. Know, like, and trust. You know what I'm saying? Like, before somebody's going to buy from you, not in all transactions, but in particular, the higher that dollar amount or that threshold is for somebody, the more important know, like, and trust is.
Whether you're serving guests or whether you're a leader serving your team, you get to create two things so that you can provide two things. You get to create safety and trust, which the industry, as you know, lacks a lot of. We get to create safety and trust so that we can provide clarity and direction. And I think that if we can, at the root of it, create this sense of safety and trust for our guests, for our team members, the rest of the things just kind of fall into place. The clarity and direction is way more achievable. The buy-in is way more achievable. Like, what we know, Mike, is that 70% of employees are disengaged at work. And they're disengaged because they don't feel seen, they don't feel heard, they don't feel valued.
Now, when you say disengaged, are you saying they're just like being brain dead at the moment, or are they totally distracted into something else? I mean, what do you mean by disengaged?
A little bit of both. So if you're familiar with the term quiet quitting, I mean, folks will go to a job and they're going to be given a hat to wear. And after they wear this hat for a few months, their team members might see that they're capable and competent and maybe even confident in what they're doing. So they're going to say, you know what, let's give them another hat. Let's give them another hat. And years go by and you find yourself wearing 6 or 7 hats, none of which are the ones that is the one that you actually got hired for. But what's changed over the course of that time frame is your responsibilities have increased, your workload has increased. In all likelihood, your stress has increased because you're not managing your time effectively, or maybe you're not being heard or feeling heard or understood at work. And a lot of that comes from not receiving the necessary compensation or recognition that has come with all of those hats that you've been given. And so over time, people start thinking, you know what, this is not what I thought it was going to be. And I start thinking maybe the grass is greener on the other side, but you and I both know, Mike, that the grass is green where we watered it. Yeah. And so as a leadership coach, what I'm instilling and coaching my own clients on is, how are you watering the grass for your team members? How are you showing up in a way that they feel heard, understood, acknowledged? This is so important because, conversely speaking, to that 70% of disengaged, 80% of people will tell you that they're fully engaged when they receive meaningful feedback at least once per week. And that's it. It could be in the form of a 5-minute conversation.
Wow. That says a lot. I mean, that says a lot because we have a lot of shop owners that listen to our podcast. I mean, if you're hearing us, owners and operators, managers, 5 minutes a week with your employee just does wonders.
That's all it could take. Now something that Limitless Leadership coaches clients on is the importance of one-on-ones, what they look like and what they don't look like. Also, the impact of daily huddles and even toolbox talks. You know, toolbox talk is really kind of a 5-minute conversation, but this is critical, and it's critical because of the disengaged employees that I shared. What we know is that connection is what creates engagement, and engagement is actually what increases performance. So as shop owners, a lot of us are very focused on performance and the KPIs that are going to drive that performance, the processes that are going to drive those KPIs. But if we start shifting our focus from the processes to the people first, people plus process equal profit. Focus on the connection, because that's what creates engagement, and engagement is what ultimately what's going to increase performance.
God, it sounds so simple, and it's the same thing as everything in life. It's all a people game. I mean, you know, we rely on technology, we rely on processes, we think about streamlining and whatnot, but really at the end of the day, everything comes down to touch points and communications.
You said it, Mike. Like, it is simple. The problem or the challenge now is actually doing it. Like, knowledge, like we have the knowledge, like we know how important this is. We know how simple it can be, but knowledge without action is just information.
Yeah.
So what are we doing about this challenge or problem that we've identified. And a lot of times, and the number one reason we don't have one-on-ones, number one reason we don't do daily huddles or have the toolbox talks or focus on connection.
Yeah, what is that?
Time.
But it's also like this. Is it not true when we say we don't have time for something? Isn't it true that we're saying, I'm not going to make this a priority?
Exactly. And here's the thing. A lot of us will say,
because we have to choose, right?
You're right.
Yeah.
Well, and here's, like, we all know, if you're in this industry, you're also a part-time firefighter, because it feels like everything's on fire. It feels like everything's a priority. And if everything's a priority, nothing's really a priority. But a lot of us are saying we don't have time. I'm going to respectfully challenge you and ask, are you making the time? And here's the analogy I always give. Any client who I'm talking about this with, I'll ask them, and I'll ask you, Mike, I'll ask you right now, any vacation that you've ever booked, if you're taking a flight there, have you ever missed a vacation that you booked that you have to get on a flight for?
Never.
Why?
Because it's a priority. I mean, I know that the flight's going to leave. I don't have a choice. I got to be there on time, right? I got to.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you've made it a priority, and it's a priority because, like, you want that. Like, you want to go on vacation.
Yes.
And so when I say, like, hey, shop owners, if you want to make more money and have more time in your day, then focus on the connection, and I promise you that the performance is going to increase. If you focus on the connection, you're creating engagement. When studies show that most of your team members are actually disengaged, if you focus on the connection, the engagement gets created, and subsequently the performance increases. And here's a stat that I think is very alarming. And this is why, as a leadership coach, communication is one of the biggest challenges that we often coach on. And the stat is this: poor communication costs shop owners 18% of total salaries being paid out on an annual basis. So if you're listening and you're a shop owner and you're paying out $1 million in salary across an annual basis, poor communication could actually be creating sunk costs in the amount of $180,000 every single year. So if that amount is not alarming enough for you to say, you know what, I know how important the sales process is and how important it is to bump up our ARO and increase our close ratio and work on GP. But what if I actually focus on one-on-ones and daily huddles and the impact of connection that's going to create the engagement, which will subsequently increase the performance? It works. I'm telling you, it works.
No, that's awesome. You remind me of something that I learned a long time ago, and it's not a direct correlation, but it's a directly related to good communication. You know, it seems to me sometimes in business, people I work for will tell you they know there's a problem coming, okay, with a client or something. And the first thing I get, and I'm talking about when I was a young man, these are older guys, so they'd be like, what are we going to do? Now, I'm a younger guy by at least 15, 20 years than some of these guys. And I remember thinking, like, you know, my dad taught me, well, you just hit it head on, right? I mean, you go talk to people. You take care of problems. You don't let them sit out there. Same thing my mom always said, or you own up to your mistakes, right? And I would say this at a meeting. I'd be like, why don't we just tell them what the problem's going to be? Well, how are they going to take it? Well, what's it matter? Do we have a solution? Yeah, we can fix it. Okay. Why don't you just let me call them up and I'll tell them we did this, didn't go as planned. We got a problem. It's going to delay things about a week or two. Here's our solution, but we'll have it fixed. You know how you know what happens most of the time? The guy on the other side will say, oh, hey, okay. Yeah, you got it. So you got it figured out. Yeah. Okay, Mike, thanks for calling. You know what I'm saying? And everybody, but you know what I'm saying? And I think, to your point, I love the fact that you got these statistics on communication, what it means to your business, because sometimes it's just little bits of communication and just, hey, like letting somebody know, creating touch points with each employee and making yourself aware that, hey, I'm going to start out with one extra touch point that I'm aware of each week with each employee. But then I may increase it with certain employees because they need it, right? But I love the fact that statistically your business will dramatically improve, is what you're saying.
It's a dramatic improvement, and we have, thankfully, over the last 2.5 years, we have dozens of shop owners who will attest to this. Like, if your team members are truly putting in the time, making the time to have one-on-ones, and again, when I say one-on-ones, we have to also know what this looks like and what it doesn't look like.
Right. Yeah.
Right. So if they're having effective one-on-ones, if they're having the daily huddles, if they're having the toolbox talks that we're talking about, it's a dramatic improvement. And by the way, these statistics, if anyone is interested, they're coming from the 2024 State of Business Communication Report. So I've been looking at this report now for the last 3 or 4 years. Initially, my stats were coming from the 2022 Business Communication Report. Most recently, 2024. A lot of the numbers haven't changed. I actually shared the 70% of disengaged employees. Sadly, it's increased to 77%. I'm sharing 70% because it's an easy number to remember. But the reality is, based on the most recent report, 77% of employees are actually disengaged at work.
Dang, man. If you just you just try to absorb that, and that's well over 3/4 of your employees are totally disengaged.
Totally disengaged. And think about the amount of sunk cost that might be being created. Because to your point, like, if you're, as a young man, giving this feedback to the older folks, and they're thinking, wait, so we actually have to say something to these folks, right? Well, how many people don't actually say something? How many people are spinning their wheels and have using this mental energy to think about a conversation that they may not even have? And this is an example of when there's a breakdown in communication, voids often get created, and negativity tends to fill those voids. And so we start seeing this breakdown, and it's incredibly impactful to the bottom line.
It's interesting. Is it not the truth? I mean, I say among all of us, and you just look at yourself, when someone's not engaging you after you've been trying to communicate with them, where does your mind go? It goes to negativity, right?
It does.
And you're immediately like, why is he not getting back with me? This is an issue we got to take care of, or whatever it is. But they're not that good. They're not a good communicator, period. That's just the way life happens sometimes. But then sometimes you'll find out, like, I'll make these judgment calls, like, what's his problem? And you go down these little rabbit holes of negativity. Then you find out the dude's mom died.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
We all do it.
Yeah.
We all paint this picture or tell ourselves a story that may not even be accurate. Like, one of the greatest mistakes any of us can ever make is assuming that all of our thoughts are actually true. And we all do it. We all do it.
I had a priest tell me one time, he said, here's the problem with the people in general. We all make ourselves little gods. And we think this, if I think it, it must be true. No, he said, you got to check yourself.
That's right.
And you got to check your own emotions. But everybody thinks, hey, I thought it, and I thought this, and therefore, and I'm a smart person, and therefore it's got to be right because I've got my own free will, and I'm independent, and blah, blah, blah. We build ourselves up. And you could be just as wrong as anything out there. I mean, you can be 100% wrong thinking you're 100% right.
100%. And think about this. We're always going to find evidence in the things that we believe or think, which means if I think something, I will find evidence that supports that belief, but it might be a limiting belief.
Yeah. But that's why the data that you're quoting today is so important, because, I mean, you're talking about 3/4 of employees are disengaged at work.
It's scary.
That's a scary thought.
I mean, how many of those 3/4 are going to leave, or maybe they get fired because we didn't lead them accordingly? They're not doing the jobs that we thought they were going to do well enough.
But either way, you're creating greater cost and headaches.
Preach. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff. Hey, before we run out of time, I want you to talk about your beard company.
Thank you. Yeah. So, my wife and I, we purchased a beard company last year, and the beard company is called the Bearded Brotherhood, and we're all about community, all about inclusivity. If you have a beard, if you have a 5 o'clock shadow, if you have a full Grizzly Adams beard, this is the company for you. So it's all natural ingredients, no harsh chemicals, but we have some beard balms, beard oils, mustache waxes. We have colognes, beard butters.
Where do they go to buy anything?
thebeardedbrotherhood.co.
All right. Y'all heard it right here.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, absolutely. So give people a little bit more idea who you are. What's a favorite movie?
Favorite movie is The Greatest Showman. And
what's What's his name?
Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman. Yes.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
And by the way, the timing of this question is perfect, because I was just thinking about this about a week ago. My wife and I, we have 4 kids, and we took all of them to the skating rink, and my wife and I even skated. I mean, we're adults doing kid things, and it's like, man, I'm gonna probably break my back doing this, but it was fun. But while we were skating, a song came on from that movie, and it got me thinking about the movie. And just, full transparency, Mike, I mean, here lately, we're Limitless Leadership is in a growth phase. Just added another leadership coach, chief revenue officer, Adam Faulkner, to the team. He's a phenomenal individual, and so we're in this growth phase, and we're working on getting more clients, and working on growing, and working on sustainability. And every business owner knows this is a challenge. It's a challenge to scale and making sure we're doing it right. And so we have these moments where we're thinking, is this going to work? Can we keep on going? And we know we can. And I believe that the most successful people are the ones who simply don't quit. But all that to say this, it got me thinking about this movie. And if you've seen this movie, Hugh Jackman, he's P.T. Barnum, and he goes through a lot of challenges throughout the entire movie. His life was full of challenges, and he was able to exercise resilience and this spirit of like stick-to-itiveness. But what we see in Hugh Jackman is he has this relentless pursuit of success and greatness, and he is this determination. And I think every business owner, I would say, go watch the movie. If you're a business owner and you want encouragement, you want motivation, you want inspiration, and maybe you're struggling or not, it's a movie of resilience. It's a movie of determination. And I love his character that he plays. He talks about how comfort is the enemy of progress. And I believe that we can be content, but not comfortable. Like we could be and should be content with the job that we're doing. We should be happy with the progress we've made, but don't get comfortable, because growth and comfort can't coexist.
Ooh, that's strong. That's good. Yeah. Interesting. You make me want to go watch that movie again. It's been a while, because that movie is at least 10 years old, isn't it?
It's pushing 10. I think it came out in 2017, 2018. Yeah. It's
okay. All right. I saw it when it came out. My daughter and I think my wife, there's a few of us that we went and watched it, but I remember liking it, but I can't remember all the details. But I remember thinking a lot more of the guy than, after the movie, than when you go in, you just, I don't know, P.T. Barnum, you don't really.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
I didn't know either until I saw it.
Yeah, no, that's a great movie. Well, I got to tell you, man, I'm glad that Neil introduced us, and I forgot where you guys met. Where was it, like ASTA?
Yeah, I did a training event for ASTA back in April.
So if someone wants to talk to you about potential training on communications, where do they go to find you?
Limitlessleadership.co.
Okay.
And just go to the website. You can book a discovery call with me. Happy to chat with anyone. Discovery calls are free, so jump on a call. We can just chat and see if we might be a good fit for you.
Fantastic. Well, Josh, it's been a great honor having you on here.
Likewise, Mike. Thank you so much, man. Appreciate you.
All right. To all our listeners out there, this has been sponsored by Tread Partners. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next time. To all our listeners, thank you for being part of the Gain Traction podcast. We are grateful for you. If you'd like to find more podcasts like this, please visit gaintractionpodcast.com. If you'd like to make a guest recommendation, please email me at mike@treadpartners.com. This episode has been powered by Tread Partners, the leader in digital marketing for multi-location tire and auto repair shops. To learn more about Tread Partners, visit treadpartners.com.